Hi guys, and welcome back to the Really Average Wargamers. We got another tournament report for you this week at Mad 4 Miniatures in Cornwall in the UK. We were playing a 50-point Warmachine Hordes tournament using the hardcore rules. We use a slightly old-school variation on the hardcore rules. It's still 50 points. You get 7 minutes for your turn, but we use the close quarters scenario rather than the official hardcore scenario. So you've got 7 minutes to activate your turn. You can win on scenario, which is by scoring 1 point for dominating the friendly flag, 1 point for controlling the enemy flag, or 2 points for dominating the enemy flag, or by assassination. If the game isn't over within the total hour round length, then that counts as a double loss, so both players count as losing. It's a lot more pressure than the normal time turns or normal death clock. 7 minutes to activate 50 points isn't a lot at all. So quite a lot of people specialising their army to work within that time frame. So we'll have a look at what I took and the games I played, and we'll have a look at some of the beautiful armies that were on display. Okay, so 50 points really is quite a lot to activate in 7 minutes, so quite a lot of people went for low model count armies, and I was no exception to that. I wanted to take quite a lot of war beasts, and one of, if not the best, Trollblood war beast caster is Epic Doomshaper, the Rage of Dunia. He's got spells that really do nothing for units. He only really works with beasts, and his feat makes his battle group excellent for trying to strike an alpha strike. So I took Epic Doomshaper with Mulg the Ancient because he's awesome, an Earthborn Dire Troll, a Trollblood Axer, and the Mountain King because I've never taken him to a tournament before, and I thought that might be a bit of a giggle. I also took Janissa Stonetide because the combination of her and the Earthborn is excellent, and a full unit of the Krillstone Bearer with their unit attachment. And that clocks in at 50 points for Trolls. Okay, so in round 1 I was paired off against a Signal player who'd brought this beautifully painted Stormwall, and running that was Epic Alistair Kane, along with Gun Mages, Cyclone, and Alison Jakes running a Centurion, as well as a Squire for Kane. There's quite a lot of guns there that I was pretty worried about, but I think combination of my armour and Epic Doomshaper's feat really paid off. Doomshaper's feat grants +3 speed and a free charge or trample to his entire battle group, and that allowed the Mountain King and Mulg to get the drop on the Stormwall, and once he'd gone, Mulg was managed to walk over and take out Kane. So here's a photo of how the game ended. Kane was just in front of Mulg, but you don't get to be in that position for long, unfortunately. So I got pretty lucky there, and it ended 1-0. So that was the first round. A lot of people trying to get their head around how hardcore works, including me. I don't deal very well under the pressure of 7-minute time turns. But a good first round, and we went on to the second round. Okay, so in the second round, I was facing off against a lovely local mercenaries player who'd brought Durgan Madhammer, an Earthbreaker Colossal, and Thor Steinhammer, along with Gaston Cross, running a Galleon, Master McNeil, and Wrong Eye and Snapjaw with a Bull Snapper. So that gave them access to Spiny Growth, which was going to go in both Colossals, which would really impinge my ability to get the Alpha Strike and do any kind of damage, really. I didn't really know how I was going to play against this game, but I thought that Doomshaper could hide behind that wall whilst I used my beast to maybe peace trade a little bit. But I clearly haven't played against this kind of matchup very often because the Earthbreaker is wonderful in this kind of scenario. A combination of Durgan Madhammer's feat, the spell Red Line, Thor Steinhammer's tune-up ability, Master McNeil's mini feat, allowed the Earthbreaker on his turn 2. He'd gone first, and on his turn 2, he came forward, put a barrage of fire into my caster, who was hiding behind the wall. The wall completely ineffectual because he has a knockdown torpedo that ignores cover, and managed to get my caster down to a tough roll on his second turn, which I was so lucky enough to pass, and luckily thereafter the attack ran out of steam. But I was really on the back foot, and that had knocked me for 6 a little bit. This is how the game ended. I managed to get rid of the Earthbreaker, but the Galleon is where that wreck marker is, taking on Mulg. but managed to get an Earthborn around the side with wild aggression on him, onto Durgan Madhammer, who was on a ridiculously high armour, but still, luckily, just with my last Fury roll, managed to get enough damage on him to take him out. So I feel I got very lucky in that game, having passed the tough roll after only my first turn. But there you go, that was the end of Game 2. So, as I've said, 7 minutes is not long to run a 50-point list at all. You can't really play a normal Warmachine list. So a lot of people came up with really unique and individual ways that they could streamline or be able to play within 7 minutes. There's this wonderful Legion of Everblight list led by Seren, with a lot of flying war beasts. Now her feat means that her battle group can't be targeted by melee attacks for 1 round, and the idea being that basically buys you 2 turns with flying war beasts to try and get to the enemy warcaster or warlock to go for an assassination. There's also this amazing convergence of Cyrus army led by Iron Mother Directrix. It's got 2 prime axioms, so if you can hit and drag people, you can kill them that way. Or the Iron Mother has a spell called Backlash, which, if you put it on a warjack, means every time the warjack takes damage, its controller takes a point of damage. If you combine that with all the models in Convergence of Cyrus that have the Puncture ability to automatically do 1 point of damage, that includes the Prime Axioms themselves, the Iron Mother Directrix herself, and all the Elimination Servitors that were in this guy's army, you can plink away at a Colossal or a Heavy Warjack for 1 point of damage every hit. If you do that 15 or 16, maybe 17 times, most warcasters in the game will be dead at that point. That's a wonderful way of getting the assassinations, quite beautiful. There's also that Mercenaries player that I've just played against with the wonderful ranged assassination threat from the Rulic Colossal. But I also had to take a photograph and mention this Krix player, who'd gone completely the opposite direction to most players and brought an epic Goreshade tier list with waves and waves of Bane Thralls and Bane Knights. The idea being that you can't deal with this many Banes in your 7 minutes, and using his 7 minutes he can charge in, charging Weapon Masters with Dark Shroud, and they'll take down a Heavy or maybe a Colossal one by one and just drown you under a wave of that many Banes. So that was quite an interesting way of people dealing with 50 points in 7 minutes. Let's move on to the next round. Okay, so round 3, and I'm up against a Circle player using Epic Kaya and her companion Laris, and another tier list. This has lots of Warpwolves, Druids, and Shifting Stones. The idea being that with the Gore Axe and access to Primal, those Warpwolves can teleport all over the place and be able to take down anything that you put in their path. Really didn't want them to get to Doomshaper, but other than that, hoped that my armour might be able to hold me out. In this game, the Mountain King really did me proud and lived the dream by killing 1 member of both units of Shifting Stones in 1 shot. It's probably one of the best uses for his 10-inch spray, as it's quite high strength, it will ignore stealth, and doesn't need to roll to hit that highly, really. It needs to roll to hit, but anything but a double 1 will hit. So, even with that threat neutralised, I then got a little bit greedy and managed to lose both the Mountain King and Mulg in 1 round due to primal Warpwolves. So that game then went on a little bit of a bloodbath, bit of attrition, and unfortunately Dice Down was called. So that was the end of the round length. And in hardcore mode, that means that there's no such thing as a draw. Both players count as losing. So that game's a lot of fun, but unfortunately counted as a loss. Okay, so round 4, and I waited for my opponent to be called out. One guy I really didn't want to face off against, but yeah, it was the Krix player from earlier. He's a lovely local guy, but he knew what he was doing when he put together this list. Lots of Banes, and as a troll player, I don't like seeing many Banes. So I thought it was a bit of an uphill struggle, but I got quite lucky in this game. Goreshade ran forward to try and dominate the friendly flag, and that left him just about within reach of the Mountain King. So under Doomshaper's feet, and with wild aggression on him, the Mountain King managed to charge Goreshade, and with every fury available to him, just about managed to take the guy down. So got quite lucky, and end of round 4 was a win to the Trolls. The end of round 4 marked the end of the day. A great day's gaming had by everyone, I think. It's really interesting to try something a little bit different in terms of a tournament. Activating hardcore rules, 50 points and 7 minutes is not easy, so it's really interesting to see how different people approach that problem and the solutions they came up with. With a record of 3 wins and 1 loss, I was lucky enough to actually win it. But there are also some beautifully painted armies around. There's this absolutely amazing Scorn army that graces the table of tournaments around our area quite often. But in this case, the best painted army actually went to this Kador army painted by Tom, who's a regular on the channel, so congratulations to him. We'll have to get him to put up a tutorial or showcase of some of his best pieces. The whole thing was hosted at Mad 4 Miniatures in St Austell in Cornwall in the UK, so if you're in the area, why not pop in and check them out. They've got a wonderful range for quite a few wargaming games, but importantly, they do a really good stock of Warmachine Hordes, so why not pop in. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Why not subscribe below for more updates, and we'll see you along at the next video. Cheers.